You gentlemen say that. Hello and welcome to the CNBC Africa special looking deeper into the gold wage woes. I am Karabo Letlhatla. The gold wage negotiations took place last year and dragged on for 3 months before an agreement was signed by 3 unions. The Association of Mine Workers and Construction Union refused to sign the agreement, citing dissatisfaction. The union in November embarked on a strike which this week enters its 9th week. The strike has been marred by violence and fight between 2 of the biggest unions, AMCU and the National Union of Mine Workers. Joining me for a discussion as we look deeper into the gold wage woes is the Deputy President of the National Union of Mine Workers, Philip Vilagazi, and the AMCU National Negotiator, Gift Antonio. Gentlemen, for your time, I thank both of you. I don't know where to begin, but let's start by asking ourselves about what divide and conquer means when you look at the mining space. What does that mean for either of you gentlemen?
Maybe, thank you very much, Karabo and the viewers. You raised a very fundamental question, but truth be told, the issue of divide and rule is a system issue. And if you look at the majority of the hardworking, less paid people, you will find that is the black nation. That being the case, we have achieved what we achieved in the industry. And for this reason, therefore, we need to take it further and say they caught us with our pants down since the formation of the other force in the same space. Because immediately people are fighting against one person on different agenda. That person becomes victorious. You like it or not, it's a matter of fact.
Gift?
Yeah, thanks. Morning to the viewers as well, and to yourself, the host. I think with regards to your question, when it comes to the issue of divide and rule, obviously, I think it has been a strategy or a tactic of those in power. Whenever you're getting into negotiations or negotiating, what they seek to do is to try and divide the forces or the powers that comes against them. So what they will do is they will round up certain groupings and bring them onto their side. And I think that's the strategy that has been used for quite some time in collective bargaining, in wage negotiations. Yeah, so that's the issue there.
So gentlemen, with that question asked, I'm going to ask the subsequent question to that, which is Sibanye winning? Who's winning in this mining impasse in the gold sector?
Karabo, and I'm sorry to sound like, obviously, when you are old, you'll always talk what you know. When you look at the kind of workforce that we have since post-1994, the lives of the individual employees has changed in such a way that as a mandate-driven organization, once you are told that go and sign, you go and sign. And immediately you signed. Those who gave you a mandate to go and sign will definitely go on going to work. Very disturbing is when a man looks to another man and see an animal. I can tell you this industry has been killing people through mining accidents, which of course we tried our best to control those. But today is more painful because a man can just close his thinking and regard another man as an animal and kill him. That's what we're condemning.
What is causing the violence at these gold mining operations of Sibanye Stillwater? Why is it said that your members are fighting each other? Why are your members fighting each other?
Yeah, I think maybe to answer the first question as well in terms of who is winning. Obviously, from where we sit, it's labor versus
Capital.
the capital or the employers. At this stage, I think in terms of who is winning, it's hard to say. But as AMCU, we have continued to put pressure, and we are going to continue to turn up the heat in terms of trying to get what is favorable and best.
For how long? This is your 9th week. If I was an AMCU member,
Yeah.
I would have not had a good Christmas. I would be scouring to find money to send kids back to school. How are your members even surviving?
Yes. I think when it comes to that issue, at the mass meeting that we held, the members told us one thing. They said, you will serve the notice now. And we said to them, don't you think the timing is a bit awkward? And they said, no. When we talked to them about the issue of the Christmases and all of those things, they said, well, this is not the first, this is not the last Christmas. We want what we want. And obviously, as AMCU, we are mandatory.
You know, there's an element of hardship that I think AMCU members are used to, especially after the prolonged platinum strike. But I'm going to ask you, Ndate Vilakazi, why was this a good deal for your members? The deal that you have signed with the other minority unions, being UASA and Solidarity. Why was this a good deal for your members?
You asked a question that I want to respond to before
Please.
coming to this one.
Please.
In actual fact, you look into what people committed themselves to do in their lives.
Okay.
Of late, people's wallets seem to be big because of cuts, which those cuts they owe to pay every month. Permanent slavery. The system is very cruel. If you want to deal with capital, you mustn't forget that you are pushing a system that you need also to think for your own self. These people have got cars. These people have taken kids to the multiracial schools. They are living life that is much better than 10, 15 years before they started.
But AMCU will argue that you,
It's okay.
collectively, you could have a better deal out of Sibanye Stillwater.
It's okay. The only problem is the Montias operandi of organizations will always differ from one point to the other. A real mandate-driven organization is like a servant. And if you are a servant, you don't perpetuate people's thinking out of a history that cannot help you. Let me tell you, democracy is born out of a united mine worker strike in 1987, which lasted only for 21 days. And it has turned things around to date. Now, today,
Emphasis being on that unity. This is what I'm
Of
asking you.
course.
That why weren't you, the two of you together, Sibanye operations and gold or platinum cannot really happen without the two of you, without both of your members. So why would it not be a better deal to hold out with AMCU?
you see, maybe not to sound like I'm monopolizing the interview.
No. We'll come there. I'm sure Gift understands. He's smiling there on the side. He understands.
It's a good question.
No, that one is Junior. Look, this thing started in the Platinum Belt. NUM has been majority union dealing with small unions. We're taking them to board. And whatever we're agreeing to, from that unity you're talking about. But if unity cannot be driven from political tolerance, you are not going to find that unity.
But the intolerance, okay, and Gift, let's talk about that. The intolerance that we are finding, which is leading to the vandalization of houses, which is leading to, cars being burned, which is leading to life being lost. And gentlemen, allow me to say that as a man who's afraid of, very scared of the mining sector, I don't think I would even survive 5 minutes underground. The violence just seems to be echoing something we've been through before. Clearly, we don't want to go back to those days. How do we make sure that members can strike without necessarily striking at each other?
Yeah, I think I'm going to first probably take this question that you've just posed now, but I want to return back to the other question of the deal. Maybe with regards to the issue of violence, I think as AMCU we are renowned for denouncing violence. We don't play the man, we play the ball.
That's not what
I know, but I'm just putting it out there in terms of our principles. In terms of violence issues, I mean, if you look at our 2014 strike, the 5-month strike, which probably answers your question in terms of how long. The 5-month strike, we held that strike quite peacefully. Obviously, there were a lot of issues there with regards to people trying to end the strike using violence as a means. So remember, the violence and the supposed friction between AMCU and NUM, for me, it's a non-starter per se. Fair enough, human lives are lost, but it's because people are trying to come up with strategies to nullify. People are trying to come up with strategies to say, no, the strike is violence, therefore let's end it, you know? That's one strategy.
Gift, allow me to say that as an outside observer looking at the situation, it looks like your members have more to gain by exercising intimidation and violence because they are the ones who are on strike. New members are going to work.
Yeah, I think I probably don't want to get down or boggle down to who it would favor. The issue is not about who it would favor, but rather who instigates. Rather, who wants to benefit from weight, who wants to benefit from a violent strike. Because
but what would NUM have to benefit? NUM just wants to go to work.
No, we're not talking about NUM as such. We're saying...
Yeah, you're talking about the employer.
Thank you very much.
Are you talking about Sibanye? You're saying that this is an orchestrated advance on top of Sibanye? Look,
I am not saying it's Sibanye.
I just want to say to the viewers that we have made contact with Neil Froneman prior to having this discussion, and he was not inclined to want to participate. So that's his loss. But are you saying that it's in the interest of the employer who wants his gold production up to instigate violence?
Has the employer taken us to court as yet?
No.
To interdict the strike?
What is with the general lawlessness? I mean, AMCU members have been arrested. Some AMCU members have been arrested.
They've also been shot. Some
of your members have had property damaged. Where's the law enforcement in this whole situation?
You see, Karabo, this thing goes very personal and emotional. It's very dangerous to play a game that you don't have rules. It's the National Union of Mine Workers which said, we want to convert hostels into family units, where we are going to expose wives next to their husbands and kids to school next to their parents. What has happened in Blaybank and part of Beatrix in Free State, believe you me, it lacks humanity and it takes us back from the gains that we had, because if your wife has to wake up, leave the child, runs away because the house is on fire, as a father you don't know where your wife and your daughter or your son ran to, it tells you that humanity has gone to a break. Worst of them all, the very same complaint that says mine workers are not paid, I'm working there, I'm not the hearsay person. I'm a typical RTO for your own information.
So who do you think is instigating the violence?
I'm asking a question that says, if Sibanye and these fellows of ours had rules to play their game, they themselves must then sit down, because that's what we have been saying to Sibanye, to say, you know what, South African Labour Relations Act is very clear when coming to safety. It lies 100% with the employer. If this thing of killing our people, burning their houses is going to continue, we are going to be left with no option but to intervene in the space with the law enforcement agents, which of course we must appreciate what they've been doing after taking for so long. And all these arrests, we even say to those who are members of NUM, there is no amount of violence that can erase reality. People must be clear and keep their personal space to be human enough. When they look into another person, they must see a human being, not an animal.
On that note, we're just going to take a quick ad break. We'll be back with a live crossing from Sibanye Stillwater head office, where our reporter Lubabale Mashikana will be speaking to that company spokesperson, James Wellstead. We'll see you in a bit. Hi, Amo.
Son.
Question here first to both of you. Try to be as concise as you can, and then I'm going to throw to him. We're going to Welcome back to the CNBC Africa special. Now, Sibanye Stillwater has released several statements citing its case in the matter of the protracted strike. But we will have more on the issue with the company spokesperson who will join us later with our reporter, Lubabalo Mashikana. But first, gentlemen, I want to say this. When you hear Sibanye Stillwater say that they have not actually incurred that much of a loss, that their gold production guidance is still within limits, what does that say about your own losses? Gift, you can go first.
Thank you. Well, we obviously know that as much as Sibanye can say that they have not incurred any losses, I mean, money making is money making. Digging gold and selling it's opportunity lost, especially at the current price of $1,002 per ounce. Nevertheless, they are obviously heavily relying on the platinum price, which has come to my knowledge that they've actually gone out of the current price arrangement of selling it at the market rate of $800 to $1,002. On top of that, the palladium price as well is sitting at around $1,003. So they're probably milking it in that regard, and hence the secondary strike coming up.
How do you feel about that?
No. Remember, the National Union of Mine Workers is hard at work. Kids gone to school with Christmas, with few of those stumbling blocks here and there of the chaoses of...
That's something that Gift can say.
Of course, remember, National Union of Mine Workers members said, go and sign, we are going to work. And obviously, like I said, divide and rule is a very strategic thing. It's a system matter. NUM is hard at work. Maybe it's because that's the reason why they say what they say, but I'm not their representative. I did not feel a pain in as far as is concerned, except the loss of property and that of life of those who really lost their life. May their souls rest in peace, and condolences to the families.
All right, on that note, we are now crossing over to our reporter, Lubabalo Mashikana, who joins us from Roodepoort, who is standing by with Sibanye Stillwater spokesperson James Wellstead. Lubabalo.
Well, Garaba, good morning, and good morning to your panel and the viewers. Well, of course, I am standing by with James Wellstead, who's the spokesperson for Sibanye, to list in on Sibanye's role and how far they are with regards to this strike with AMCU. James, thank you so much for joining us. How far are you?
Well, I mean, the strike's been going since the 21st of November at our gold operations. We've been through various iterations and engagements with AMCU over that time. Finally, on the 13th of December, we extended the offer that we had signed with the other three unions to AMCU and other non-union workers in terms of Section 23(1)(d) of the Labour Relations Act, which allows for you to extend the offer if you've got a majority of unionized members in the other unions. AMCU has appealed that, and we are currently undergoing a verification process with the CCMA to check where the numbers are at the moment.
How long is that expected to take?
We can't say for sure now. We're meeting with the CCMA tomorrow, where they will outline the verification process, and then we'll have a better idea of how long it'll take.
How much has this cost Sibanye, James?
Listen, we put out we haven't got a financial cost to it, but we did put out an update last week where we indicated that the gold production for the year was about a ton of gold below what we had indicated or guided for the year.
Well, James, you have released several statements assuring your shareholders of how this is not going to affect them. But why not actually take money and give to the workers? What is the actual thing that is actually blocking these actually negotiations?
So first of all, to correct, we didn't say it would not affect. I mean, obviously, if you do have a strike that continues for a month, there is going to be a financial impact. But obviously, we've tried to mitigate it as much as possible. So that statement that it's not going to impact is incorrect. We engaged quite extensively with the unions since July this year on wages, including AMCU and their representatives that were involved in the negotiations. And they were actually part of the group that came up with the offer that was finally accepted by the other three unions, being the NUM, UASA and Solidarity. And then national leadership then refused to sign it and added additional demands. So we, at that point, after having negotiated in good faith and having reached agreement with the other 3 unions, then signed that agreement. And we've committed to them that is our final and our a fair offer that takes into account the sustainability of the gold operations and is a final offer. And we are not able to now give AMCU a higher offer just so that they can play games in terms of union rivalry.
Well, James, AMCU has applied for a secondary strike in the Platinum Belt. I'm sure you know that by now, which is actually said to maybe starting on the 22nd of January.
That's correct. We were notified yesterday by AMCU that they may be calling that strike on the 22nd of January. We obviously are considering our legal options in relation to that strike, and then we'll obviously continue with the verification exercise. If we are successful with that verification exercise, both the gold and the platinum strike will be declared unprotected and illegal.
Well, James, another issue here is the safety of workers in your facilities right now, and what is going on with that regard?
So you mean safety at the operations?
Yes, safety at the operations.
So I mean, obviously we've tried to ensure the safety of our employees. I mean, the safety of employees is our first priority. We have got our security and SAPS working together to try and ensure the safety of our employees, but we have had quite a lot of violence associated with the strike. There have been 4 people who've been killed, and more recently, as you would have seen last week, in the areas where our employees live, non-striking workers have been subject to arson attacks and had houses and cars burnt. So we're trying to do whatever we can to ensure their safety, but it is very difficult in the areas that are not on our operations.
Well, James, in terms of now the negotiations, going back to that, is there anything that is happening? Are you meeting with the union, or the negotiations have just reached a deadlock until you finish with the CCMA verification?
Yeah, we're not engaging with them about wages. We, as I said, we're not going to increase the offer. We've made an agreement with the other 3 unions, and they are comfortable with the offer we made. So we're currently engaging on the verification process.
What happens if the verification process, James, comes favoring AMCU?
We've got various other strategies that we will then implement.
Okay, thank you so much. Well, of course, Karabo, that was James Wilson, who's the spokesperson for Sibanye Stillwater, telling us what the side of the story is from Sibanye's point of view. Well, of course, we have seen, Karabo, a lot happening within the Driefontein Kloof operations in Carltonville, and we have heard several stories with regards to what is happening there, but only time will tell. It's back to you in studio.
Gentlemen, that was Lubabalo Mashikana and the employer. Your reaction. I'll start with Gift first, because if you are not the majority union, doesn't that compel your members to go back to work in the gold operations?
Yeah, maybe let me just respond to what
Go
James
ahead.
has been saying. With regards to the verification exercise, personally, my biggest angst or anxiety with regards to the verification process is that when you do a verification, you need to compare one entity with another, or one data with the other data, you know. And the one data is currently sitting outside the company, which is on the mountain, on the copies, versus what the company is probably going to be claiming right now. And nevertheless, the other issue that also gives me anxiety is the fact that if you look at who runs payroll at Sibanye, it is the former NUM stewards who were from underground, and when they're not declared unfit to work underground, they then get taken up to surface.
There's rumors.
So there is that issue. So in terms of business ethics, that becomes a little bit of a challenge for us.
Are you sure that you are still the majority union in Sibanye's gold operations?
Well,
yes or no?
Well, let me give you a straight answer.
As far as you know, you have the numbers clearly. You know how many employees there are there. You know how many are affiliated to unions. Do you have the majority? And does that protect your strike further?
Let me put it this way to you. There is no majority.
Preferably. From what we read on the papers, we are meant to believe that, well, according to some of the aspersions made by AMCU, that the employer is even going to lengths to try and increase your numbers, your union members. So in that way, you guys end up with the majority. Who is the majority union at Sibanye Stillwater Operations?
That is the National Union of Mine Workers.
So shouldn't AMCU go back to work?
And Karabo, painfully so. We are still tracing quite a number of issues since the introduction of our fellows in the space. I'm not going to make accusations because before AMCU came here, all those people were members of NUM. We never killed anyone for joining anything. It's very worrisome if people immediately they want to get into the space, they act as if there has never been a thing. When NUM existed, the only enemy was the system. And of which is still the case even today. We are only disturbed when a man plot another man while they are people of the same against the same enemy. For an example, the accusation or the assertion that says a former NUM member runs a payroll, there is a difference here. You become a member of a union after you are an employee. You don't go to work being a member of a union. We must correct this myth. And immediately there is that contractual obligation. There are some ethics, is natural. But I want to talk to this issue raised by the employer there, if you still have time.
Unfortunately, we are running out of that. So
no, don't worry.
Concise.
I'm saying, it's the responsibility of Sibanye as the employer to ensure that safety of its employees, who are our members, is 100%.
And AMCU members as well.
And like I'm saying, employees. I include everybody. Whether it goes thick or thin, there is no amount of money or threats that worth a human life.
Gentlemen, I am running out of time and I'm being told to wrap, and I am really pissing off people at the back, but 30 seconds response. Do I have a concession from both of you that what happened now is unnecessary and should not happen, and that the two biggest unions in South Africa's mining space will talk to each other first before they let things get this far? Gift.
Yeah, I think from our side as AMCU, I want to put it across clearly that we denounce violence. We do not support any violent conduct or act. Our focus is purely on a living wage.
So you're not giving me a concession. You're not saying that you guys will team up first to speak to the employer before you let it go under, as it were.
But how do we team up to go and speak to the employer?
I heard Joseph Matunjwa saying that he spoke to a senior NUM member who said to him that they could have negotiated prior to this, and that a bigger collective bargaining union could have been made between the two unions.
But that's past. That's what I'm trying to say, that it's water under the bridge currently.
Philip?
No. I mean, I can't say that because this is a class issue. If any person in this working class space think and understand what is class politics, you would definitely say the same. Tina, we are still prepared to say to whoever wants to contest in the space, he must be class orientated.
Well, that's where we're going to leave it for this CNBC Africa special. Thanks to my guest, Gift Antonio, as well as Philip Vilagasi, both respective members of NUM and AMCU. That's where we leave it for the special. My name is Karabo Letlhahla. We'll be seeing you another time.